Hello, I hope all is progressing well. My name is Kevin Dufresne. Welcome to I Don't Know. We can talk about it. We're going to start off with two somewhat serious topics, important topics. Of course, subjective depending on how one thinks of it, though, to me, very important to talk about. The first being sex education as a part of the curriculum in school. Do I think sex ed is important? Yes, I do. Certain parameters of sexual education are important for individuals and schools to become more aware of. Now, when it comes to the conflict of education in school versus at home, I think that's where there might be difficulties grasping the purpose of sex education. Because peers can influence. It's like an individual's home life can influence. So since both might be affecting in different ways, do I want to sign off on my child? I don't have a child yet, though, thinking, do I want to sign off on my child learning about sex education, even if in a curriculum, so a consistent curriculum, and a consistent learning format that doesn't vary per teacher, per school. It's a tough question to answer, especially because I'm likely answering other questions of raising a child outside of school. Like, do I want my child playing a certain video game with other strangers on the internet? Do I want my child going to a certain location in town or hanging out with certain individuals in their school or outside the school because of what might happen in those situations? So many variables. What I think is really important when it comes to sex education realistically concerns human education, being humane. Because I'm of the mindset to teach, for example, literacy and math in a way that's more engaging. The other parameters of education at large that are important, that can be very useful long-term in one's life, then immediately jump into this sexual realm that I cannot be for sure I can approve of, especially due to understanding from the perspective of being in academia that individuals vary learning style wise, perception wise, on so many incremental levels. So, I think sex education has to have certain levels per year. So grade or level of understanding, or at least some area outside of school, at least specifically for certain niche situations like pregnancies, if within school, if that's the situation that parents want people to understand. Safe sex, I'm all about teaching that. That's really a very important part of sex education. I don't know if in school I want to really have strangers engaging my child about sexual situations. Though, if I sign off with a meeting, a council of parents in mind, to discuss with the children that will be attending these courses what we're agreeing to, because obviously everyone has a vote, with an understanding of how the information in as close to a perfect world as one might be able to get to might disseminate, so that peers understand, okay, well, our parents want us to discuss this in this particular kind of way because we're still growing up, we still have a lot to understand. I barely understand what this person means to me emotionally, or what that one letter or saying hello, I like your hair bun, means to me emotionally, or a gesture that a child shows another child. These are all parts of human growth that I think need a lot of respect. So, of course, how do you teach anyone that? Every person has their own personality, character. It's just part of individuality, and I respect people's individuality. So, I like to think that it's just really important to be mindful of sex education. I feel like if it's going to be a part of the school system and curriculum, then a lot more catering within communities needs to happen. So I'm definitely all about parental counseling, familial counseling, that integration with it, because, like I say, I'm thinking of the mindset, I'm sending my child, yes, into a system with strangers at the beginning of the day. They might know a few people here and there, though people are coming from all different parts of wherever to come to a space to do whatever, whether it's for good intentions or poor intentions. The differences are present, and there are going to be inconsistencies, likely, of lifestyles, depending on how individuals move, where individuals move. So with all that, it's really important to me to consider how the approach of catering sexual education into schools in a set curriculum happens, because there need to be checks and balances a lot of the time along the way. And like I said, the education is happening in school, yes, of course. It's happening between school and home, yes, of course. It's happening at home, and it's happening wherever else anyone else is going. Education is not only institutional, as many institutions are in the world. Okay, so the next topic is about dating. We have variances of dating. This one is, though, about a couple. This is where the topic is deriving from. The woman is 26, the gentleman is about 50, and they're dating. They're in a good relationship, a good time. My mindset is that 18-year-old plus adults can date. Of course, maturity factors in, because a person can be 70-year-old, acting very immature, not ready for a mature relationship, whatever that might mean. I mean, at least mature for me means stability, independence, to say the least. And a 19-year-old might be ready to take on the world in a thriving relationship. So the idea here is that every person is going to be able to find whoever reasonably, sensibly, though has to be willing to mature and realize the types of relationships a person can be ready for. is willing to be ready for, can commit to, and also with who can cater to that relationship, that type of relationship, successfully in the way that one wants. So it's this, obviously, with the consideration of age. That's what I'm just thinking about right now. It's like, does age really, really matter? Yes, legally, of course. Adults. All right, this is not Dirty Dancing. You can't date 16-year-olds legally in the U.S. as far as I know. Not that I'm looking to. But that's the whole point, though. You can find love in so many different ways. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And then it's like, all right, well, let's start to the legal stance. Then let's start to that emotional, mental, obviously economical sense. Not saying it's all about the economics, though. That is a part of, stability in a long-term sense when one wants to embark on a journey of being in a relationship. Some people might want to be in relationships and live in a forest, like Adam and Eve, for all I know. Whole point is, if it makes sense to you and it's legal, then, well, as long as you're in that mutual situation where it's safe, have fun. So that's what I think about it, whether you're Hugh Hefner and all the playmates, or that new 18-year-old on the block with that 65-year-old around the corner at a senior home, or just gardening. Okay, so now we're going to take a little origami break. That's the good deal. So, today we're going to make an origami heart. Last week we make an origami heart. This is an origami heart envelope. So you can use all the hearts that I'm showing from this week and from last week as envelopes. So this one is actually to be intentionally set as an envelope. It's a little smaller than the last heart, which is a big heart. How you determine if this is a big heart? Well, depends on what you put it in, right? It's subjective. This might be a big heart because you put a lot of big energy into it. Okay? So, first things first, as you can see, I'm going along here pretty quickly. So we're going to get into it. So I'm just setting some pre-folds up. I'm going corner to corner, both ways. After that, we're going to have our triangle. It's good to get familiar with folding origami in these initial steps. Panel to panel, right? Edges to edges, and corner to corner does make future folds a lot easier. Now, another common fold is going from the triangle to this diamond on the side. This is important. So it's like, showing you from this corner side now to the flat side. I like to insert a thumb here. I insert a thumb right here. In this triangle position, I insert a thumb, and then I just press down the middle. And once I press down the middle, well, I have a diamond shape. So I make a diamond here, and that's how I get both sides here, and that's what's going to happen on the other side. So I open it up so you can see it all happens just from this big triangle. So we go corner to corner, diamond, and diamond. Now, this origami heart envelope is really cool. Gets pretty simple here though. So it's gonna be a flap down the middle, and another flap down the middle here. You see that? So now we have, from the diamond, we take the top portion of the flaps down. I'll show it again here so you can see from the side. See that? That's where our diamond is. And flat, flat. So now the next step is to take the pointy portions and fold them. So as you can see, it's like a mini triangle. And then of course we have another triangle here. Just gonna take it and fold it just like that. Now, this is the back of the heart. So the heart envelope, that side that has these flaps out, is the back. So what we do here is just kind of bend it down here, similar to the heart. It's just common to bend it down, if you like, of course, just to give it more of a rounding heart shape. And then bend the sides in. I like to bend it a little bit to catch the flap that's kind of hanging out, so I can try to catch it in so that it won't go out again. If it does, it's not a big deal. I'll try to catch it like that. I'll just fold it in. Try to make it as even as possible. And if you look in, I try to bring it to the edge of where the envelope begins. So if not, you'll see that there's a little bit of design here, and the green is where the envelope spacing begins, where it'll hold. Put the flap in, put the flap in, boom, boom, and I bended it a little bit, so I'm bending it backwards toward the back part, so I can have more of the heart popping out, and voila. That's the origami heart. As you can see, the flaps in the back. Do with them what you will. Add tape on it, it's origami. So you can do whatever you want after this. Though I'm making the origami from squares, single offs, no additional items. So that you can make them on the go. That's how I like my origami. Easy to make on the go. Alright, so now you might want to see if you can stick something inside here, like a nice little note. I'll use some origami paper. See, take some more origami paper here, just so you can see how it looks. Take a little note, you know what I'm saying? Valentine's Day is coming up, you know. It can be even a nice note. Send it to a friend, a family member. And then what we put in there, obviously this is big origami paper, but that's the way it is. So you have this nice origami heart. It's really, really nice. One of my top origami pieces because it's so giving. And that's the origami envelope. All right, folks. Now we're gonna get into the two films I'm just done watching. Woo! After this momentary break. All right, welcome back. I'm here. I'm back too. So this week I watched two films. I watched Sharpstick. It's actually a film on Hulu. It might be on other streaming services. It might be available in other forms. And that is a rare film for me to bring on this, because usually I talk about films in theater, which I like to do. This week I only watched one film in theater, which is Infinity Pool. And that film was so literally, I remember eating in the theater, having to stop eating due to feeling so nauseous because of the gravity of the content. The film is so grotesque, so bloody, it's very violent. I don't find the film to be super artistic, though I find the meaning in the film, because I want to call the film art house, which the film resonates so well with, more so than horror, even thriller. The film is realistically not the most fun to watch, though it plays on the idea of being an audience member, laughing at certain tropes in films, in society. And not necessarily recognizing that we're setting ourselves within those same positions in certain types of ways. Also sets the stage to be reflective in the sense that put oneself in the other's shoes. If this is funny to you, how might it be if you're not the one with the knife, or if you're the one that's the dog, or etc. The film is shocking in instances. I think the acting partners do fulfill the film. I do feel the acting partners fulfill the film well. I feel as though the portion of the film that really stands out being on vacation versus being at home. Does the film really discuss anything economically? The film discusses things, meaning social situations, exclusively, concerning exclusivity, more so than economically, which is interesting because the vacation doesn't last forever. Bills need paying, or at least are in question for needing paying. Another very important point to bring up concerning what social dynamics are at play, especially when one is on vacation, when one is in the home, when one is in a wild, and of course including intoxicants. Not a film I want to watch a second time. Infinity Pool. Okay, so moving on. So Sharp Stick, which is a little more pleasant, though comedically deep, because the film plays so well with acting partners and romantic relationships and, speak of sex education, sexual developments in relation to parenting, in relation to modern society, in relation to drugs and alcohol, intoxicants, as I like to say. The film Sharp Stick really touches on the thread of culturing, parenting being in the home, like direct between mother and daughter. And of course, bringing up pregnancy is really, really important within this world of sex, within this world of what is a person doing privately versus what is a person doing publicly. I literally think in the film about how one character is on social media being so active, presenting so much to the world, and in a sense that is a form of expression. The film does talk about social media and how to be successful in social media, who's using social media to a varying degree, to a particular degree, of varying degrees throughout the film, using some common tropes one might see in films, like certain poses and just the way a person might present themselves to the world. And of course there's that private sense where a person has another interesting story that probably isn't the go-to for a social media branding, depending on the branding, though from her livelihood as the audience, as a family, knows the character, pretty much the protagonist, one of the main protagonists. So there's a very fine detailing when it comes to social culture within relationships, of course, concerning sex. Vary so much about appeal, about interest, what kind of relationship one enters, why, low key answers are necessary because I'm curious about the relationship that is on the main stage for the babysitter, the main protagonist, to engage with. The film brings so much to attention. I mean, is it shocking sexually? No. Do I feel as though the film posits relationships in a unique way? Yes. Is it new to the table? No. Though, what the film does latch on to, on a very deep level, like I said, it's comedically deep, concerns the response cycle socially, especially for someone that's just beginning to enter into an intimate relationship. What happens to, this is when it gets more so on the woman's side than well, it's on everyone's side. We're in it together. Though, concerning how a woman's mind might be developing. I won't say an individual's mind because I want to put all that onto a woman. It's just that the focus is through the main protagonist, which is a woman. How she's responding to certain stimuli and situations sexually, romantically, especially after certain points. And of course, go figure, porn becomes a catalyst in the film. The film is problematic for teaching purposes, so not problematic for the sake of shock to be problematic, though to say these are situations that are occurring, possibly. Here are some ways to attend to them, possibly. Though the ways are not obviously the best ways. There are a lot of preventative methods that the film does not get into, though it's just bringing it to the table, bringing all this to attention. It's a comedy. One, I think, necessary to talk about, which is cool because it's not a film to just watch then let go. It's a film to sit with for a bit. Definitely a film to watch with another person or so to talk about, which is nice when a film is like that. All right, we're gonna move on to a book. So I am on this journey with this book and I'm enjoying it, and I'm going to actually share the end of the devotional portion with you so we can have a moment of progression together. The Purpose-Driven Life by Rick Warren is a devotional. 40 days, I read one every night because of my curiosity of the text. There are subjective points which I do not wholly agree with, though I embrace contemplating for further growth, self-development. So what I'm going to share is actually day 35, the point to ponder, verse to remember, and question to consider, which Rick Warren sets at the end of every single session, meaning day's lesson. The point to ponder here is God works best when I admit my weakness. The reason this is a point to ponder is because the chapter is about embracing one's weakness and or weaknesses in a way that glorifies God. Rick Warren does acknowledge other prophets, subjects that God uses for God's purposes within the text, within the biblical histories, in ways to show that weakness is okay with God, so long as one's intentions, life are with God. So God will manifest God's intentions with one's weakness and or weaknesses. So the point to ponder, God works best when I admit my weakness, really derives from the lesson of that which I mentioned. The verse to remember is, my grace is sufficient for you, my power is made perfect in weakness. So 2 Corinthians 12:9a. Question to consider: am I limiting God's power in my life by trying to hide my weaknesses? What do I need to be honest about in order to help others? Again, the question to consider, realistically, questions to consider. Am I limiting God's power in my life by trying to hide my weaknesses? What do I need to be honest about in order to help others? For me, I feel as though my creative expressions, my journey, music, all that I put out so far is realistically freeing. And I can relate to a degree to not necessarily considering them weaknesses, though acknowledging aspects of my life which are important to dive into, uncover, explore, discover. Though I actually think about what a weakness might be, considering, for example, my album Light of Times and my album Love of Times, realistically contemplating the behaviors that are not healthy, intoxicating behaviors that are not healthy, not necessarily abusive. I'm just sober. That's a big deal. Not drinking alcohol. Though it might not be a lot to a lot of people, not imbibing toxins, I understand it varies for everyone what people might consider a lot. The point is that to be in these situations, even with those little moments of those little bits, obviously in tandem with a lot of other social situations personally that I work through, makes a difference. So to each one's own, though, acknowledging all these things, wow, look, a lot of creativity. Glory to God. I'm more so spiritual than religious. I say that because I do have a large respect for good religious communities, and I say that because every religion is different, and that means operations of communities will vary. There are a lot of different rules varying from religions and communities of religions. So, I do believe in good community and sound human development. So, being honest through my creativity, being honest in the ways that I am honest, are very helpful. I'm grateful for what I do. Grateful that you're here watching. I don't know. We can talk about it, where we discuss varying topics, and of course, everyone can have an opinion. So we talk in a civil manner, because civil discourse is important. Yes, we talk about it, live another day. Talk about it, live another year. And a few years later, possibly a decade, we talk about it, remembering us talking about it, talking about it, whatever it may be, to talk some more in days ahead. So, thank you again for being here. The bookmark raffle announcement will actually be put on the forum officially. I'm even integrating myself into the forum more so now, especially because of the bookmark raffle. So I'm looking forward to posting in the bookmark raffle. Thanks for participating in the bookmark raffle, folks. I'm really glad about that. It's really cool to be able to have different individuals supporting reading, supporting literacy, and especially the ways that I am. It's very encouraging. So thank you for participating, and I hope you live wonderfully. Make good decisions. Onward and upward. Kevin Dufresne.